Tells at 10, the attorney for Nashville mother accused of throwing her baby down a 75-foot ravine wants her evaluated. He says there's a chance she suffers from postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis. Now, Kristen Madden is charged with attempted murder involving her infant daughter. She's accused of faking the baby's kidnapping and her own, and then trying to kill her own child. The sheriff's office in Henderson County says the baby was found at the bottom of a 75-foot ravine. Madden is being held on a $750,000 bond.
And Madden's attorney says he isn't trying to build a legal defense. He just wants to get her some help. And tonight, we're going in depth on these postpartum disorders.
Fox Carolina's Brooklyn Cromer has been digging into this tonight. She's here in studio. So, Brooklyn, you talked to a therapist earlier. What exactly is postpartum psychosis, and how could it have played a role in this crime?
Well, the counselor I spoke to explained the difference between postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. Now, you can see postpartum depression is a term you probably heard of. That occurs in between 15 to 20% of births. Postpartum psychosis happens in about 0.1 to 0.2% of births, so not very common at all. And some of the signs and symptoms of postpartum depression include sadness, anxiety, exhaustion, but much more severe over on postpartum psychosis include hallucinations and delusions. And here you can see postpartum depression. A lot of the moms experience trouble bonding with the baby, but with psychosis, they're having thoughts about harming themselves or their baby, so just a much more severe condition.
It's really misunderstood and often underdetected, and that if we could normalize a little bit the struggle of being a new parent, that more people would talk about it, more people would get treatment, and less people would get as sick as they do.
Susanna Baldwin volunteers with Postpartum Support International. She's also a licensed counselor focusing on perinatal mental health. She says there are multiple types of mood and anxiety disorders that can occur during and after pregnancy, and it's important to know the signs.
As a new parent, it's really easy to get completely just lost in the new parent role. So family members or friends asking genuinely, gosh, this is a hard time. How are you feeling? And paying attention to if something seems off with them.
One of the most common conditions occurring after childbirth, postpartum depression.
Postpartum depression occurs in as many as 1 in 5 women, and we still know it's underreported and underdetected. And in fact, dads can get postpartum depression, or partners, and that occurs less often, but up to 10%.
According to the National Institute for Mental Health, some signs of postpartum depression include feeling sad, hopeless, empty, and overwhelmed. Baldwin says these symptoms are common, but a less common and much more serious condition.
Postpartum psychosis occurs pretty rarely. The onset is usually quite early in the first 2 to 3 weeks. And the symptoms include things like seeing things or believing things that don't seem like we're in touch with reality. Some confusion and disorientation, and usually insomnia.
Baldwin says partners, family, and friends should pay attention to these symptoms and intervene when something doesn't seem right.
Those things are usually quite noticeable, even though the symptoms can wax and wane. A mom might seem fairly stable and like her typical self, and then sort of out of the blue make comments or say things that don't seem like her normal self.
Symptoms of postpartum psychosis include hallucinations, hearing voices, and extreme insomnia. And in rare cases, some moms experience thoughts of harming themselves or their babies. Now, the counselor I spoke to says it's important to know that postpartum psychosis is temporary and treatable and can be managed with medicine and therapy. But if you believe that you are experiencing these symptoms, you should seek help immediately. And she says the most important thing is don't be afraid to talk to someone. For more info, we have that online at foxcarolina.com in our As Seen On section. Cody and Diana.